Hey, Pyromaniacs. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. This is Pyromaniac Mo, and it is Saturday, meaning the latest episode of The Light is out. I want to thank Louis Mack for sitting in with me. We talked to the goo, waiver wire, pick and flick. Guys, you can pick up off your lineup and flick, or pick up off the waiver wire and flick right into your lineup. DFS, Vegas vibes, and more. Louis Mack did a great job on episode 47. Check it out before you hit week 4. Just a reminder, we've got early game on Sunday, so get your lineup set tonight. Lord knows if you're like me, you want to sleep in, get your lineup set tonight. What we're doing here with the practice reports, as you know, we don't have a crystal ball, and we're always looking for ways to get an advantage. With the change in status reports this year, they got rid of the probable designation. That means everybody and their sister is questionable, and it really doesn't give you any insight as to who's going to play. So we at Pyro are doing a couple things. If you're a Pyro Pro, certainly you can track up to 100 players. And on a player page, we've got the Twitter mentions there. So anytime a player's name is mentioned on the Twitter sphere, it gets sent right into a scrolling window. That way, you're in a bunch of different leagues. You don't have to go type in all these different names and scour the internet for the latest up-to-the-minute news. Go on to Pyro Pro. You can log in your players, and boom, we're tracking it for you. It's all right there. Plus, you also get the news feeds that we're doing. So we're going to give you the latest breaking news, stats, that kind of good stuff. Plus, we do something called the Fantasy Goo, which means depending on what the report is, we're going to say how we think it impacts fantasy. So you get, mentions so-and-so needs 100 yards to get this record, or so-and-so's offensive guards are listed as questionable. So-and-so has, a broken foot and he's going to be doubtful. With the Fantasy Goo, we tell you what we think that means for the fantasy world, because Lord knows that's what we're all here for. We also have Mr. Mills, our resident doctor in training. He's doing the weekly injury reports, which is just fantastic stuff. And then that leads me to my videos here. So I'm going over the practice reports. Again, we don't have the probable designation, so we got to use everything at our disposal. What I'm looking to do with this is see a trend. If a guy was not practicing on Wednesday, maybe he gets limited on Thursday, full practice Friday, that is something that I consider a positive trend. I'm going to sleep a little bit easier that night, figuring he's going to start. The guys I'm losing sleep, or the situations that I find to be negative, if a guy did practice on Wednesday, but then was limited Thursday and did not practice Friday, that is not what you want to see. In that case, I'm going to have an exit plan locked and loaded, ready to go, an exit strategy, a guy I can plug into my lineup or someone on the waiver wire ready to go just in case, because that is absolutely not what I want to see. Checking my phone and all the latest updates as we go, but let's start off with Arizona. Let's get this thing rolling. All right, we're starting it off with Arizona. Justin Bethel, he is a cornerback there, limited all week in practice. Of course, they got the Rams. Tight end for them, the Cardinals, that is, Darren Fells. He got into full practice all week, as did Larry Fitz. And even Michael Floyd, who I saw people tweeting about him earlier on in the week. He was limited on Wednesday, turned around, got in a full Thursday and Friday. Same deal with Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger, limited, but then got full gig Thursday, Friday. That is not what you want to see if indeed you are a Rams owner, the wide receivers in particular. Elsewhere, guys that are popping out to me on the waiver wire over in Atlanta, Coleman and Freeman. Now, both are doing great. Might start to give owners a bit of a headache as to deciding when it's going to be a Coleman game or when it's going to be a Freeman game. You're not always going to have both, as we did last week. But Coleman, he was limited both Wednesday, Thursday, full practice Friday. That's what you're looking for. Devontae, it was a step up, right? He was not even on the report Wednesday, just a scratch. Don't know what happened there. Even if they do not practice for a non-injury, they tell us that. This one, he just didn't report, so maybe he wasn't there, had something else going on. I don't know what that means. Thursday, he did not practice. Friday, he got in a full. So Coleman, I'm not sweating. Devontae, I'm really not too worried about, but I'm filing it in the back of my mind just because I see that DNP did not practice. Julio, no DNP, but as always, the LPs. He was limited Wednesday, Thursday. Julio did get into full on Friday. Thank you, Lord. Mohamed Sanu, if you're a Mohamed Sanu owner, this is exactly what you're looking for. Now, for me, a Julio owner, I was kind of hoping this would go the other way, but with Mr. Sanu, did not practice on Wednesday. He got in limited Thursday, full practice Friday. Good for Sanu owners. That's what you're looking for. Not as good if I want to increase my slice of the pie as a Julio owner. Matt Ryan, of course, he got in a full practice all week as well. Let's turn this thing over to Baltimore. Kamar Aiken did not practice Wednesday. No report from him Thursday, obviously. And then Friday was a full practice. Kenneth Dixon, boo! I've talked about him on the light. I think they're really going to turn the reins over to him. He got in his first full practice, I believe, Friday. I think it's going to be week 5. The return is nigh. Grab him now on your waiver wires, like I said. We got guys there that just haven't been able to run away with it. West and Forsett have just been meh. Buck Allen has been less than that. I was one of the lowest ranking on him. In fact, I took him out for a while. I should have left him out. I think I brought him back for my last Pyro rankings for Fantasy Pros. I believe I did have him taken out. I'll have to double check that. However, I think that just sets up the return for Kenneth Dixon. He was, of course, the pass catcher that's coming out this year that was the best. And I think that's going to continue under Trestman. All right. I had to pause for a late breaking news. Apparently, at the Ellison Brewery Anniversary Festival, I snagged a ticket from the wife. So had to pause there. Going to be cracking some Valverdes later. It's a nice little micro brew outside of Michigan State. They got their anniversary. They are being catered by an eatery simply called Meat. So, how can you go wrong? IPAs and meat on Saturday. Sounds good to me. Back to fantasy, what you tuned in for, not to see my ugly mug talk about the beers I'm going to be drinking later. Valverde. But I talked about my love of Kenneth Dixon and how I think he's going to be the man going forward. And we're excited to see that he got into full practice on Friday. Elsewhere there for Baltimore, guys that I'm really looking at are guys that are popping off the waiver wire. Popping off the injury report for me. Some offensive guards that's a little concerning. They got two offensive guards. They got two offensive tackles. One is questionable. They've got a guard that is questionable, and then just another guard and another tackle that are on the reports. So, again, I'm waiting for Dixon. I think that's going to be the man. Until then, it's not looking good up front for West and Forsett. Over to Buffalo. Charles Clay, if he can get some targets, that would be happy. That would be good for you. He was did not practice on Wednesday, limited both Thursday and Friday. Listen to the light, guys, because if you're starting Clay, I think you are sleeping. There's some guys out there that you should be able to pick up. I talk about several on the light that are available in 50% of leagues or more. So check out the latest episode of the Pyro Light. That's episode 47, Louis Mack and I. Buffalo, of course, you got the horrible news of Sammy Watkins. If you could, I tried dealing them. I was trying to sell them all over my league. Nobody bit. Watkins is out. Greg Salas is out. It's just looking poor for Ty God as his options are just few and far between. Carolina, they got the angry Cam scenario this week. Carolina, they've got Michael Orr. He's already out on the for a concussion. And other than that, Jonathan Stewart, he is listed as out, of course. Last week, the week before that, I actually called Fozzie, which was week 2, which was a fantastic call. Last week, I did call Cameron Artis-Payne, and indeed, he got more of the snaps like I thought he would, as he did in weeks I want to say 14, 15, 16 of 2014 when Stewart was out. So it appears that that trend is going to continue. Just didn't have much of a game last week. The game script was there. It's going to be tough sledding, I think, because Cam, he's got the legs and he's always a red zone threat. Chicago, the running backs, both doubtful. Kadeem Carey and Jeremy Langford. Of course, they've got Jordan Howard, the man there in Chicago. Going to be a chalk play, but excellent DFS play. This week, just sheer volume of opportunity. Alshon Jeffrey, of course, always showing up there. He was limited all week in practice. Listed as questionable, but should be able to go for Mr. Hoyer. Boy, their cornerbacks, McManus, Porter, both listed as questionable. Both were limited all week in practice. Danny Trevathan, the linebacker, is doubtful. They've got a defensive tackle. Mitch Unrin, limited on Wednesday, full Friday, full on Thursday, but their defense is depleted, which could make Detroit a nice start. I really like Stafford. I tweeted this out earlier in the week, talked about it on the light, but Stafford, his last 2 games against Chicago last year, of course, their division rivalry, the Norse Division, Stafford, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns, 1 INT. So I really like playing Staff this week. If you can get him in, or certainly on DFS teams. Moving over, Cincinnati, Tyler Eifert, he's been limited, but I think his return is nigh. If you can scoop him up, do so now. Drake Kirkpatrick, the cornerback, inactive. Got to take a look at what his availability. They've got the nice long rest after playing on Thursday, but he's a guy you might want to take a peek at if you are going against. You've got a wide receiver going against Cincy in Week 5. If Drake Kirkpatrick is out, they've got 2 other safeties that are on the practice status reports, so they could be hurting there for the long ball if you've got a guy going up against them next week. Over to Cleveland, Lord knows you got the Josh Gordon news. Corey Coleman, he is still out. That's going to boost all other pass catchers for Cleveland. And we've got, of course, McCown is out. You got Cody Kessler. He's been full practice all week. Over to Dallas, Dez Bryant, questionable. Did not practice. So if I'm a Dez owner, it's looking very grim for Week 4. Elsewhere, names that are coming off or popping off to me, of course, Tony Romo did not practice. He's out until further notice. Orlando Scantrick, he was limited all week. He is their cornerback. He's got a questionable tag with a hamstring. Over to Denver. Virgil Green, he is out. I thought he would, really step up here, but he just hasn't been healthy. And they've got some linebacker issues. In fact, we've got 3 of them popping up on the practice reports. One, indeed, DeMarcus Ware is out. Watson got in a full practice, as did Corey Nelson. So could be an interesting play here for Tampa owners. We'll get to Tampa here in a minute, as indeed I am a Sims play, but I like Emmanuel Sanders a lot this week, and I like a Mike Evans going up against Denver. Listen to the light, and I'll tell you why. Going over some reports for Detroit. So let's take a look at their weekly practice filings. Ziggy Ansah is indeed out. That's going to be good for Chicago. They got a cornerback. He's questionable. He was limited all week. Did get in full practice. That is Barnes. Ebron is questionable. Now, here, if you're an Ebron owner, this is exactly what you want to see. Although he's listed as questionable, I'm not sweating it. Did not practice Wednesday. Full practice for Ebron on Thursday. And, limited Thursday. Full practice Friday. That's exactly what you want to see. I'm not sweating it for Ebron. Marvin Jones, he was questionable. Talking about a hamstring. Didn't go on Wednesday. Limited Thursday. I read the beat reports. He was full practice Friday, and I saw more than one beat writer basically say, what hamstring? He looks fine, looks 100%. So I'm not worried about Marvin Jones, as indeed I am an owner. The other guy in defense I know you're going to want to know about if you're a Chicago owner is DeAndre Levy. He is out. We saw what Green Bay did when Zeke Ansah and Levy were out for that defense. They can be had, and that's one reason I like the Chicago running back this week and Chicago tight end this week. Over to Houston. Houston struggling a bit with Bill O'Brien reportedly taking over play calls there. Jonathan Grimes, the running back, is out. Not that you're starting him, but just to give you some facts, Jack. We got Braxton Miller. He is out with a hamstring. He did not practice at all this week. Indy. Darius Butler, he is out there cornerback. Again, this Indy just provides high-scoring affairs. Philip Dorsett, who I thought might take a big leap forward with Moncrief being out, of course. Philip Dorsett is questionable. He was not listed on the report whatsoever Wednesday, Thursday, and only limited on Friday. I'm a Dorsett owner. I thought he would be doing more. What with the Moncrief situation? Really, they've just been elevating the two tight ends, unfortunately for you Dwayne Allen owners, and I'm not so sure Dorsett's going to go. Only a half day is basically practice, and that came on Friday. Frank Gore got into full practice Thursday, Friday, in case you saw that he didn't practice on Wednesday. He did not, but it was non-injury related, so you're not worried about that. Of course, the center, Harrison, he is out with an illness, did not practice all week. T.Y. Hilton did not practice Wednesday, full practice Thursday, Friday. So you are counting your lucky stars there. Andrew Luck. I haven't seen reports that this may be more serious than we thought. This is not what you want to see. Limited Wednesday, gave it a full go Thursday, but was unable to give it a full go on Friday. He was limited. Keep your eyes on that. I've heard some Twitter rumors. Just keep your eyes on Luck. Don't just assume that everything is roses and gravy over across the pond, as they say. Besides Indy, we got Prince Amukamara for Jacksonville. He got in full practice both Thursday and Friday. He's been really shaky this year. I mean, health-wise, he has not been in. He is probably one of their better cornerbacks. Of course, they got the rookie. They got Fowler there. So guys that are we thought were starting to shape up, but they haven't really shown it yet for us on the defensive side. That equates to fantasy goo. Chris Ivory got into full practice Thursday and Friday. He himself said he is ready. Said he wasn't quite there last week, but he said he's ready this week. Other guys for Jacksonville, one more that is questionable tag for Julius Thomas. He did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, but Thomas did get in a limited practice on Friday. Good news for Thomas owners, but you still want to watch the reports on him. Jamal Charles, questionable. He was limited all week. As a Ware owner, I'm not thrilled. It is looking like he's going to go. That's what I've heard. At least I've heard grumblings about it, but I just cannot believe he's going to get a full load, so I still think Ware's going to be involved. How much so, yet to be determined. But boy, Ware has certainly earned a seat at the table, as it were. So I'm not throwing him to the curb just yet. I do want to kind of see how they use them both, if you can. But certainly keep your eyes peeled about Jamal Charles, because, again, limited all week. That's not what you want to see. A lot of times these guys really do want to get in a full practice Friday. That is not the case with Jamal. Other Kansas City guys you might be looking at, Marcus Peters did not practice Wednesday, Thursday. They're awesome corner who really starting to come to life. He did get in a full one on Friday, so if you got wide receivers going up against Kansas City, this could be something to note. Charcandrick West, he is out. So again, it could be a good thing for Ware. They are going to use him if Charles goes. I still think Ware it could be viable this week. Certainly if Charles doesn't, that's great news, but because West is out, I think that could be good news. Over to L.A., Tavon Austin, questionable. He was limited Wednesday, Thursday, got into full practice on Friday. Kenny Britt, questionable. Nothing for Wednesday, Thursday, no reports. Limited on Friday, not good. Farrell Cooper, finally, my boy, getting full practice this week. Looking good for Farrell Cooper, but of course he's got to be rusty. He just hasn't been integrated into that system yet. Nelson Spruce, another wide receiver there. He was full practice. If you're in the deepest of deep leagues, perhaps you're paying attention to that. Miami, of course, we saw what happened to them. Not liking what I see there. Take a listen to the light. My man Louis Mack has an interesting theory about what's going on with Miami and the coaching staff and the quarterback. Guys to be concerned about, certainly Jordan Cameron, that concussion, Arian Foster, of course, the hamstring, things you want to keep an eye at this week. Of course, they got a long 10-day between their next game. Jarvis Landry, got to keep an eye on him, of course. Devontae Parker, got to keep an eye on him. Pouncey, would be great if he came back for that running game. Deion Sims, so a lot of guys to be concerned about. Minnesota, tearing it up on defense, but Boone, the offensive guard, is questionable with a hip, limited Friday after not practicing at all on Thursday. Stephon Diggs, questionable with a groin. He was limited in practice on Friday. Elsewhere, still with Minnesota, Jerick McKinnon, he got full practice both Thursday and Friday. Michael Pruitt, also full practice Thursday and Friday. New England, Jacoby Brissett is questionable with a thumb. We also have Jimmy G, questionable with a shoulder. Both guys limited in practice all week long. Keep your eyes posted. We got one more week to the Brady Watch, and he'll be back for week 5. Jonathan Cooper, offensive guard, questionable. Might be something I'm going to pay attention to if I am a owner of Blunt. Going to rely on him, certainly, until at least Brady comes back. Gronkowski, questionable, limited in practice all week. You always got to keep your ears pinned. Keep them up for Gronkowski news. Over to New Orleans, Delvin Breaux, of course, is out. They've just got a bunch of rookies in the secondary, a bunch of guys that have signed after the season started, and they can be had, of course, as they were last year. No real improvement this year. Josh Hill, the tight end, the backup tight end, he is out. Laurinaitis, questionable. Willie Snead, still questionable with that toe. Limited practice all week. The toe injury. This was an interesting study done, I believe, by Chris Raybon. But for wide receivers, the most nagging, most effective affecting injury was indeed the toe, I believe. So not good for Snead. You don't like to hear turf toe. It can just linger and all season. Really can negatively affect the way they run the routes, how quick they can cut. So Willie Snead, I hate to see it because he's an exciting player that does elevate, as we saw last week. Coleman and Michael Thomas. Come on, Willie. Get back in the game. Eli Apple, cornerback, questionable. Did not practice at all for New York. They've got a tough slate against the Vikings this week. I am fading my Giants. Certainly Sterling Shepard. Rashad Jennings, questionable with the thumb. Limited both Thursday and Friday. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, the cornerback, did not practice at all this week with a growing injury. They've got Darian Thompson, the safety, is doubtful. Boy, Giants are banged up. Jets aren't doing a whole heck of a lot other than throw interceptions for Fitz magic to Fitz tragic. Eric Decker, he is out, ladies and gentlemen. Talked about Enunwa. I'm thinking he's going to stay in the slot. Decker receiving one of the highest snap percentages out of all wide receivers. Unwa was getting roughly 77%. That's going to increase what with Decker being out. Of course, you're still looking at Brandon Marshall. He's not listed with anything. He did get into full practice. We saw his knee a couple weeks ago, but full practice all week. I'm hoping he has a good game, but tough slate up against Seattle. Out of anybody, though, Unwa draws Jeremy Lane. So he, out of all the Seattle guys, he's given up the most fantasy points per route run. And, of course, with Marshall, he's a stud, and he can break out and have those games against big, mighty defenses. Bryce Petty, he is out. So for those of you calling for Fitztragic to be benched, careful what you wish for. You know who you're going to get. Darrelle Revis did not practice Wednesday, if you saw that, but he was full. Lord knows he needs to get the reps in. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, of course, He just joined the team after being cut from Tampa Bay for a DUI. He had a DNP, or did not practice non-injury related, on Wednesday. Full go on Thursday, Friday. Still pretty early, though, for really anybody to rely on him yet. He's got to get the playbook down, I think. Oakland, Taiwan Jones listed as questionable. He did not practice earlier on in the week, but got in a full one on Friday, as is Taiwan Jones. Over to Pittsburgh. They got to have a revenge game because they got embarrassed last week. They've got all kinds of guys already listed as out. They've got an offensive guard out. They've got a safety out. They've got a cornerback out. That's cornerback. They got Roosevelt Nix, the fullback, is out. Eli Rogers is out. And Ryan Shazier, if this guy could just stay in the field, it'd be great. But he's out. So Pittsburgh really banged up. They also have Cody Wallace, center, out. So, whoa, Pittsburgh. I know they're going to be ticked, but they got to be able to field the team, right? And lots of guys already listed as out for Pittsburgh. Moving on from Pittsburgh, we got San Diego. Joey Bosa, of course, we can't see this guy, the Rook. He is out already. Brandon Flowers, the cornerback, out with the concussion. And again, San Diego, this could be a shootout. San Diego slated to score nearly 29 points. That is the highest expected total of the week. That's I want to say that's the Monday night game, if I'm not mistaken. No, that is indeed not the Monday night game. Sorry about that. That's the 4:25 Eastern Standard Time. That's the San Diego start time, 4:25 for that game. Lots of points to be had there. As I said, Bosa is out. Brandon Flowers, a cornerback, is out. Antonio Gates, doubtful. Hunter Henry could be a very nice play. I talked about him on The Light. That's about it for San Diego. Seattle, Cliff Averill, he got into full practice all week. Jimmy Graham, questionable. This is a tough one to read. He was limited Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, but got in a full practice Friday. I'm keeping my ears pinned, listening up for Jimmy Graham, but it looks like because he got the full practice, should be okay. I'm concerned, though, when I see them go from limited Wednesday to not practicing at all Thursday. It usually means they tested the waters, and the waters weren't good. So they had to pull it back. But it's a quizzical one because he was in full on Friday. Gotta watch Graham. Started to come back last week. Tyler Lockett got in 2 limited practices, was able to go full on Friday. CJ Prosise, again, still on the report. Went full, but listed as questionable. Thomas Rawls, officially out, looking like he's going to be out for a while. I think they just rushed him back, and now they are sorry that they did not practice all week with his lower leg. Nick Van Ant, tight end. After being limited all week, he was full on Friday. That is good. He is questionable. And, of course, Russell Wilson got into full practice all week. San Francisco. Lots of people saying, hey, Garrett, sell it. That's Selleck. He's going to be great because McDonald, probably going to be out. McDonald listed as questionable, but did not practice Wednesday. Limited Thursday, Friday. I'm hearing McDonald is most likely going to be out. And that Selleck could be a sneaky play. However, Selleck showed up on the report with a back injury. He is questionable. He was only limited all week. Besides the tight end woes they certainly have a lot of woes. Torrey Smith, he got in a full practice all week, but just hasn't been that sleeper that I thought he would be. Tampa Bay, again, playing Denver, but Mike Evans has a great matchup. Listen to the Pyro Light. We talk about the Evans matchup and some potential there for a sneaky play. Doug Martin, of course, is out with the hamstring. And then with my dog, Sims. Man, I love him. Cecil Shorts, he is out. Luke Stocker is out. As is Cody Riggs, the cornerback. And Cersei, the safety. Lots of guys. I'm going over on into the Tennessee. So let me back up there for Tampa. Doug Martin is out, and Cecil Shorts, Luke Stocker, all are out for Tampa. Going to Tennessee, we've got 2 guys already listed as out. Cody Riggs, the cornerback, and a safety. You've got Delaney Walker listed as questionable. He did not practice, but he got in a limited one Thursday, Friday. Did not practice Wednesday. You know that offense flows through him. We saw how shoddy it was. 10 points, I think, last week up against Oakland, who gives it up, and they did not score. Barely got into double digits, I believe. Delaney Walker, you're all hoping for him to return if you're a Mariota owner and just a fan of football because, man, that thing grounded to a halt without him. Tajay Sharp, I thought was going to have a great week. Just didn't, and I don't know if that's an offshoot of Sharp's lack of performance or lack of skill, or if that's really more revealing about Mariota. Time will tell. Tajay Sharp, though, however, limited both Wednesday, Thursday. He did get in a full on Friday. Let's turn our attention now to the last team on the chart here. We got Washington. Brashad Breeland, he is out. He's a terrible corner anyway, with a big ego, and I don't know why. Josh Doxson, already listed as out. Deshaun Jackson, the wide receiver, did not, this is trending in the right direction, right? This is exactly what you want to see. Did not practice Wednesday. Limited Thursday, full practice Friday. Cousins, he's had a lot of hollow games, the big yardage, low scoring. He's second, I believe, in the red zone for attempts. I think we could see a Cousins game this week. They've got that real high spread, or high over-under, high implied team total versus Cleveland. Come on, Cousins. Let's get her done. Other than that, that's about it for the Washington team. Josh Norman did not practice on Thursday if you saw it, but he did get into full practice Friday. Don't think he's going to shadow anybody this week, just in case, Cleveland. But he's looking vulnerable. He's looking human, let's say, but it should be a good one to watch versus prior. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the practice reports. Hopefully you heard a few names that you're just going to file in the back of your mind. Guys to watch. As I said, we're going to take any advantage we can get in fantasy. So these are some guys to watch. If you heard them, you got to pay attention extra this week if you heard me mention their names, or maybe you heard me mention a few defensive guys, in which case maybe you're going to start a guy on the other side of the ball that you may not have been thinking of. Thus is the practice reports, and this is Saturday. We are one more day away. We got a full day affair because of the London game. I'm looking forward to it. Have a great week 4, and do well in your fantasy leagues, and we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.